Today we're going to be talking about the best Nintendo Switch new IPs. These are innovative titles that made their debut in the Nintendo Switch generation, and I wanted to highlight them as we kind of go towards what's next for Nintendo. But before we get into anything, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. We're starting off at number 21, and that is Celeste. This is a game that I didn't really expect too much of when it comes to a narrative, but it ended up being incredibly touching and very fun. Part of the thing that makes a new or a great new IP more like it is when you have characters that not necessarily that you can relate to, that can be it for some people, but characters that are believable in their world and what they're doing, despite fantastical things happening. And I think that Celeste and its somber tale really emphasizes that, and I did enjoy it. Now, another great thing about new IPs is pretty cool ideas or spins on ideas, and Celeste has one of the best when it comes to the Super Meat Boy classic hell platformer out there where you're just dying over and over. It's got incredible level design. Once again, it's got a cool narrative that you can go through. So Celeste is one of those games that caught me a little bit off guard when it comes to how good it can be and what it does overall as the character and as you progress through the game. So that's why it makes it to number 21 on the list. Next up at number 20 is Ring Fit Adventure. This is a game that people kind of forget about when it comes to Nintendo Switch because it's an exercise game, but there's some pretty cool ideas in here when it comes to just gameplay overall. We do know that it uses the same engine of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is very interesting, but then at the same time you kind of see some of the stuff that looks similar. But I think that the Ring Fit character in the game could be a candidate for Super Smash Brothers. So that's why I think it's one of the best new IPs, because that Ring Fit person could replace the Wii Fit trainer in the next Super Smash Brothers. And the Ring Fit girl or guy has a lot of cool stuff that can happen. You've got that cool Ring Fit accessory, a lot of cool different exercise attacks that you can do. And I think that it's more fun than what we saw with Wii Fit. Wii Fit, I did play a little bit, but with the Ring Fit, I actually played that a number of times. And being a kinesiologist myself, I found it to be a lot better than what we saw with Wii Fit overall, not only as just a game, but also exercise-wise, as it's a resistance band and not just balancing on a board. So balance is great, but resistance is a bit better, and different types of exercise that you do with Ring Fit. So I thought that it's a very solid new IP. I think that it's pretty cool that it can be applied to probably Super Smash Brothers or other things that Nintendo does, and it sold really well too. I didn't expect it to sell as well as it did, because I thought that era was over for Nintendo, but it actually ended up doing 10 million units plus on the Switch. So Ring Fit Adventure makes it in at number 20 on my list. Coming in at number 19, Immortals Fenyx Rising. Very unfortunate that there will not be a sequel to this, but we did at least get this. This is a mismatch of a lot of different type of games with like Assassin's Creed, it's from Ubisoft, games like The Legend of Zelda. There's just a lot of stuff that they mixed into it, and I think that the character and the tone and everything that they try to go for with the Greek mythology, but with a little bit of a silly spin on it, is really good. But the main character is fun and interesting to go through. The characters and the dialogue is very well done. It's got a lot of cool puzzles, great areas to go over, different locations, a lot of different weapons that you can get, upgrades. It's a great new IP, and it's a fantastic title. It's just, once again, unfortunate that there won't be anything else with it, but I did really enjoy some of the combat challenges in this game. I thought it was fun to kind of blow through with them with different weapons. I thought that it was cool that they kind of organized things a little bit like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a little bit like Assassin's Creed, and if you're into those type of games, then this game is it for you. And the colorful cast of characters from what you typically know is pretty cool to go through, and the ending was a bit surprising for me too. So I felt that if you look at a new IP, you want to see cool new characters, you want to see potentially even worlds that you know of being transformed into a different vision, and Immortals Fenyx Rising has all of that. So I think that's why it's one of the best new IPs on the Nintendo Switch and absolutely deserves its number 19 spot. Next up at number 18, Master Detective Archives Rain Code. This is an interesting game because if you've played Danganronpa, it's from the makers of that, and you can instantly tell as soon as you go into the world that it's definitely from these people, because this game is insane. It is so crazy in terms of what they try to do in the game, but the main character in there and the different characters that they have talking and the way that you do boss battles and how it all works out turns out to be surprisingly addictive and very, very weird. And I think that's the cool thing about new IPs. You can try completely new things that you couldn't do in Danganronpa or you couldn't do in their previous IPs. They kind of pulled a lot of different ideas from places and put it into this game, especially with the boss battles. That was one of the things that kind of surprised me, because this isn't necessarily the type of game that I would love to play. But since you do actually control the character, you go through, you walk through, you look at different things, you investigate, you talk yourself, where it's a little bit different from some of the games that they've done before. I think that it's pretty cool to have something like this on the system. And the characters were really fun. Everybody's kind of quirky and weird at times. Some people are not as much. There's some crazy characters in here too. So as a new IP, it does everything that you kind of want to see, and hopefully it does turn into a franchise at some point. And it did good enough sales wise. They were pretty happy with that. So I can definitely see Master Detective Archives Rancode becoming a franchise, but as a debut on the Nintendo Switch, it's really good. So it makes it number 18 on my list. Number 17, The Messenger. This is a phenomenal game from Sabotage Studios. You guys all know them. They have another game that we're going to talk about later, but where in the list? That's going to be something that you're going to have to keep watching to find out. But The Messenger is a fantastic game. Pinpoint controls, great narrative and dialogue, kind of funny and goofy a little bit too. Sabotage is known for that, and the characters that you play as and the style that it is really well done. This is one of those things to where you have an indie game that's trying to do some innovative stuff with the different art styles, that's trying to try something a bit different and new from what you typically won't see in a big AAA type of game. You can do that in this type of game, and you see that. And that's the cool thing, once again, about the new IPs and about some of these different studios that are popping up to try different things. So I did love The Messenger. Really good gameplay, level design, bosses, just typical flow is very fun, and you can play it portable mode, looks great. Play it docked up, looks good too. So The Messenger is absolutely one of my favorite new IPs on the Nintendo Switch, and a game that you should check out. Coming in at number 16, we've got another independent game, and that is Death's Door, another weird, quirky type of title that really emphasizes the gameplay first, but the narrative here with the character and this bird or crow, whatever that you are in this world, and how you are almost like a Shinigami at this point, going and trying to take the souls and what you need to do, and you're working for it, is pretty cool. Once again, a dope idea for a new world, new IP, a spin on something that you kind of know and turning it into something different, but with awesome controls, great gameplay, upgrades, all sorts of different stuff, and a unique visual style that really lends to what they're trying to do in the game. I really like the fact that the characters in there have really crazy and weird things to say to you. It's almost as they feel, wait a minute, I'm allowed to be doing what I'm doing here. Why are you here for me? You need to go do something else. So I love that humor in this game as well. And if you go through, play it, and beat it all, it actually is pretty surprising in terms of the twists and turns that it does take with the characters. So I really enjoyed it. I feel it's one of the better new IPs out there. Doesn't matter the system. So Death's Door makes it number 16 on my list. Next up at number 15, another decorated new IP, and that is Dead Cells. Now, this game I have the biggest love-hate relationship with, because like a lot of the other independent games, they obviously don't have the graphics to make sure that they can wow people. So what do you have to do? The gameplay. The gameplay has to be there, but the hook has to be there as well. And the hook for this game is the roguelike, whatever you want to call it, where when you die, you start over again, but then also the different dialogue that you'll hear at times when you do die, or when you do fight a boss again, or when you do run into another character that's in there. It creates a unique environment, a unique world that's different from other rogue games or different from other independent games that give you like, okay, this game, they were trying here with this. And that's what you see with Dead Cells when it comes to the progression, when it comes to the gameplay, when it comes to the options in there, even the accessibility stuff. If you want to play it as a normal game, you want to make it easier, you can do whatever you want in this title. And I think that's really what makes an awesome new IP or an awesome game. They take a lot of the past games, right, and kind of put it together to make something that could be even better than some of these staples in the genre. And that's what Dead Cells absolutely did. So I did love a lot of different things about Dead Cells, despite hating it so much when I was playing through and trying to beat some of the bosses and everything. But the character and the style and the Castlevania DLC, even though, yes, that's not a new IP, but, you know, Dead Cells is a new IP. All of that was just great in this game. So I definitely feel like it was one of the better new IPs on the Nintendo Switch, and that's why it makes the number 15 on my list. Coming in at number 14 is Indivisible, and honestly, if we had a incredible Valkyrie profile game, Indivisible probably wouldn't be as heralded for me, at least. But the fact that we don't, and they tried to at least emulate getting a Valkyrie profile game, I have to give them major props and credit. And the art style here is fantastic. The Lab Zero type of style. Unfortunate that the studio went out of business for a myriad of things which you can research on your own, but I do feel that the art style really lends well. The characters are good. I think that the amount of characters that are in this game as a new IP just starting out, and I know it's like a Kickstarter game or crowdfunding type of thing, it's pretty cool to see how it all worked out because it's very unique when it comes to the characters, and there's a lot of personality and style and substance in this game. And just like Valkyrie Profile, you have the different characters that you can recruit on your team, and then you can map them to one of the face buttons and have strategic battles in order to vanquish your enemies. You also have some great platforming in here, a really touching story as well with different twists and turns, but with a path that you kind of see coming. But I did enjoy the dialogue and the characters in the game quite a bit. Indivisible's been one of my hidden gem type of games that people should absolutely give a try, so that's why it makes the number 14 on my list. Next up at number 13, CrossCode, a game that I'm incredibly excited to talk about because I feel that CrossCode combines so many cool aspects of, like, let's say a modern action RPG, but with the old school aesthetics, with the characters, the charm, the wit, the everything that you would love from the independent scene. And it kind of blends it better than a lot of games out there, even typical staples in the genre or typical independent games. This game kind of has it all, and I really love that about CrossCode. The gameplay, when it comes down to the action RPG stuff, is awesome, but the story is really good and well done too. Great characters, that's obviously a staple of a fantastic new IP. Gameplay ideas that kind of lend into the combat as well and into the game overall. And I feel that they did a great job just balancing everything in this game with a good balance of fun, characters, gameplay mechanics, all of that just combined in. So I really did like CrossCode. I feel that they really could do something more. If there was another game in this franchise, they can do a lot more with the combat and with the characters, but for a first attempt at something brand new, I felt that it was phenomenal. So that's why it makes the number 13 on my list. Next up at number 12 is Cuphead, and this game probably has the biggest success so far when it comes to the characters and translating that into other types of media. There is a Cuphead show, so the characters are charming enough, there's enough style, there's enough substance with this to kind of go beyond what gaming is. And I actually liked the Cuphead show. I thought it was pretty cool, but the game itself is awesome. The Mugman and all of that, and how they went into this depth with the devil and the characters itself, the expression, all of that is just super unique. Honestly, Cuphead could have been a lot higher for me just because of what they did in the game. I think that the expressiveness of the bosses in particular as a new IP and kind of doing something that you don't see a lot, having like a 1930s like stop motion or that type of old school animation with this game is such a great idea. And it bleeds into not even having to have the characters talk, but just some of the animations, like when they get hit and different things that happens in the game, how the levels progress, how the bosses attack you. All of that just provides a new IP experience that honestly you can't really get anywhere else. I can't remember another game. There probably is something, but I can't remember another game that did the stuff that Cuphead did in the modern era. And as a new IP, it's fantastic overall. So Cuphead makes it to number 12 on my list. Next up at number 11 is Tunic. The little fox dog thingy, fox that has like a tunic like Legend of Zelda, and then they just kind of put that into a game. Super gameplay heavy. Story's there, it's okay, but the gameplay is what makes this game reign supreme. Fantastic dodging controls. I think that that's one of the things that's underrated with action games. Some action games have terrible dodging controls. I've complained enough about it, but there are some games that just don't have the sauce when it comes to dodging, but Tunic has it. And you're gonna need to dodge because this game can definitely come at you at times overall. Different weapons, different abilities, exploring, finding treasure. It kind of does so many different things if you're into the old school Legend of Zelda games, stuff like that. It's fantastic for it. So I feel that Tunic is absolutely one of the best new IPs, especially if you're talking about straight gameplay. Tunic gets everything, pretty much near everything right on the Nintendo Switch. So that's why it makes it the number 11 on my list. Now we're into the top 10, starting with the Ori collection. This is 2 great games put into one cartridge on the Nintendo Switch, although you can buy it individually. But what makes Ori such a great new IP is the emotion that it evokes with the characters. Like, you feel a certain level of sorrow for what's happened to Ori, how things happened in that forest first starting out, and the quest that Ori goes on in the 2 games. There's such a charming, yet at the same time somber feel to it, but don't get that twisted, guys. This has some of the best, if not best, Metroidvania gameplay that you can play out there. The developer of the game has talked about how this is the most successful in terms of sales-wise Metroidvania game ever made, with over 10 million units, and there's a reason why it sold so well across all the platforms that it's on. It really is that good. Pinpoint controls, great story overall, good progression, and the right balance of predominantly gameplay and then story bits when you want them. When you've already been fighting and you've been exploring the map and you get to a certain area, there's some story bits that pop up. There's some cutscenes that happen, and visually speaking, it's incredible to see how everything has been animated together. So the Ori collection, Ori the Will of the Wisp, Ori and the Blind Forest, these 2 games for this collection, absolutely one of the best new IPs that I have played on the Nintendo Switch. Next up at number 9 is ARMS, and I know that some people kind of have like this hate for this game, like, oh, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, or there wasn't enough content. And you know what, I can agree with those, but what makes ARMS such a great new IP is the fact that it came from the Mario team, and the gameplay was so unique. There is not really any other game that has like go-go gadget arms that come and bop you in the face with different types of abilities on your boxing gloves, essentially, or your different like rocket hands, or whatever the case is, to hit your enemy, whether it's sweeping wide, whether you're trying to get a grab, using the corners to help out, or bouncing off of them, then doing into combos. There's a lot of cool stuff about ARMS and different type of ways to play and execute a strategy. Each character has their own special as well, like Twintail, she can float in the air then dash away. They all have something unique, so I felt that it brought something that no other game, when it comes to a fighting one-on-one game, or you can even have like 4-on-4, you can have many different type of variations, party games, stuff like that, but there's nothing that really feels like this game. And while there's not really much of a big story in here, they have like an ARMS circuit and like a tournament, and there are some story things. Overall, gameplay wise, with the online and that pretty much running flawless for the most part, and the different types of lobbies that you can create and how you can still to this day go on there and get matches, I think shows the quality that ARMS is. 1080p, 60 frames per second, no issues there as well, and I feel that it's a well executed IP overall, and I had a ton of fun playing it. I think I spent well over 100+ hours in that game on my Nintendo Switch, and it was cool to get it at the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's life. So to get something brand new like that at the launch, to where you can play by yourself single player, although the single player is not great, but the multiplayer is very good. But there is some single player content in there. They did do some updates, which they would have supported it a little bit more, but there were some updates in there. So to me, ARMS is absolutely one of the best new IPs, and that's why it makes it number 9 on my list. Next up at number 8 is Hades. Oh my gosh, I can talk about this game forever overall, and it's only number 8 and not higher because it's a freaking rogue game. If it was anything outside of that with the combat, and it wasn't, or if there was like a full big actual like regular game with this, which I wish they would actually do that instead of making it a rogue game, make it a full regular game, but whatever, that's beside the point. It's so good, it gets past my hatred for the rogue games and all that, and makes it all the way within the top 10. Hades has a phenomenal story. It's got great characters. It's got phenomenal performances when it comes to the voice acting. It's got really cool level design. It's got a bunch of dope weapons to use, a lot of different abilities that you can get. It's got super cool interactions from Greek mythology. There is so many good things about Hades when it comes to the progression and the style of this game. It's got sauce for days. I love this game. I also hate it because of the rogue stuff in there, but I love this game so much, and this was the game that helped me break through my true hatred for the rogue games. Dead Cells is awesome, and I love it, but it was Hades. This was the game that truly made me say, okay, I'll try these type of games out. But still to this day, Hades is the only game that I've played and beat through when it comes to the rogue games multiple times to see more and more Whereas other rogue games, I'll beat them once if I do beat them, and I'll be done with it. Hades, I kept on playing. That's how interesting and unique and fun it was after you played through each run. So I highly recommend Hades. I think it's easily one of the best and could have been way higher on my list, but you know, I explained why it wasn't. So comes in at number 8 on my list. Next up at number 7 is Hollow Knight. This is a game that wasn't on my radar, even though everybody thought that it was going to be pretty good because it did a sizable amount on Kickstarter, but it wasn't on my radar until it launched and it started getting boom, good score after good score after good score. And I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and try this game out. And I tried it out, played it, bought it, and goodness gracious, this is easily one of the best new IPs I have ever played. I love the style in this game. It's such a dark horror, but at the same time has a little bit of a cutesy art style to it. The characters, how they talk, what they do, they don't say too many different things, but when they do, it's something interesting. It feels like you need to know what they're trying to convey to you as a character. But overall, this is a gameplay focused game, heavy on the Metroidvania aspects, heavy on the controls, and I think that's what makes it so good as a new IP. You have your own style, your own thing that you're doing. Obviously Metroidvania, so we know about that style of game, but when it comes to the combat, when it comes to the movement, when it comes to everything, it's pinpoint. This probably has the best controls out of all the games that we're talking about here. Hollow Knight probably has the best, most pinpoint accurate controls for platforming and for fighting overall, and the best balance as well between the characters, what you can do, your upgrades, and the bosses, challenge stages. All of that is very, very well done. So I have to give some major praise to Hollow Knight. To me, number 7 on my list. Next up at number 6 is Octopath Traveler, a brand new IP that started on the Nintendo Switch as an exclusive starting out, then moved over to other platforms. And this game was really cool because it was the debut of the HD 2D engine. This was something, which is Unreal Engine 4, but their style layered on top of it. This was something that a lot of people thought about, we've seen kinda, but never to this degree. The graphics in this game blew my mind when I was playing it portable mode on the Nintendo Switch. It felt like everything that I had growing up, but in the modern age. The classic 16-bit RPGs like Breath of Fire, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, but they just said, okay, we're gonna put that in a modern sense with modern techniques and graphics, but we're gonna take that and put that in the modern sense if games never evolved from that, but then also had HD added onto it, and I love it. It's got great content in the game, really fun combat. I love the music. The music in this game is so good. One of the best soundtracks ever. The battle theme is super catchy. The characters are great. The voice acting is really good. And the characters are so good when it comes to their own paths and what they do. It's so unique and it's so fun. I thought there was an awesome synergy when it comes to the characters and their own scenarios. It all felt super believable and right in there with what would happen in that world, if that makes any type of sense. It was all really organic, and that's what I loved about each of the individual stories in the game. There was heartbreak, there was triumph, there was twists and turns. I loved it going through and playing each of those paths and then linking up to kind of do some crazy stuff when it comes to the extra content in the game. So Octopath Traveler, because of its incredible battle system, because of the great music, the graphics, the innovation with the HD 2D, and showing that people want this style of game, absolutely makes it as one of the best Nintendo Switch new IPs. Now we're in the top 5, guys. Chained Echoes comes in at number 5, and it came to my, I would say, attention that some people hate this game, or they feel that it's not very good, or maybe overrated. Well, that's not going to be me, because one guy essentially made this game over the course of almost a decade, or slightly under that, 7 years, or whatever it was. It doesn't matter. This game is awesome. I love Chained Echoes. I think that it has a very innovative battle system. It's got cool characters. It's got great dialogue. It's got a really fun story, but at the same time can be incredibly serious. It's got cool different types of mechs that you can play as in the game, on ground combat as well. It's got an evolving storyline, great mechanics when it comes to the combat and the battles and the weapons and everything that you get. I love this game. There's plenty to play in here as well. You get your money's worth, and it's not like it's expensive either. Chained Echoes is absolutely a hidden gem when it comes to Nintendo Switch JRPG styled games and RPGs just in general. I think it's one of the best ones, even if you added in the big dogs as well with RPGs on the platform. So Chained Echoes absolutely makes it the number 5 on my list. Next up at number 4 is Sea of Stars, the other Sabotage Studio game that I wanted to talk about here. Sea of Stars, to me, it's not Chrono Trigger. Obviously, we talked about this before. If you haven't seen my videos on it, we talked about how this is supposed to be the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger and everything, and they definitely tried, don't get me wrong. And nothing's really going to ever live up to Chrono Trigger overall, but this game had a very valiant effort, and for that, that's why I put it up so high as a brand new IP. You've got multiple different endings, you've got a great art style, you've got a good story, you got good fun combat that's command battle timing based, where you actually have to watch what you're doing. You can't just press the button and let it do whatever you want to. You've got to pay attention. You've got some really cool things in this game, and I think that it works really well for what they were trying to do, and I can see why the game took so long. A couple delays here and there, because this game has so much content and so many different things that can happen in the game based on your own actions, which is the cool kind of Chrono Trigger thing in there. And I feel that the developers put everything that they had into the characters, into the dialogue, into the story, the settings, the environment, the atmosphere, the music is very good. Sea of Stars is a fantastic game, absolutely deserving of one of the best new IPs on the Nintendo Switch. Next up at number 3 is Unicorn Overlord. This game has so many things that's positive about it and so few negatives. I love the art style. As a new IP, the art isn't new. This is classic vanillaware, but the game itself has so many cool ideas for a strategy RPG that aren't typical to the SRPGs that we see out there. I love the quality of life features already built in from the beginning. There isn't really many things that I'm thinking, oh, this has to be in there. They already have it there, but the characters is the shining beacon along with the gameplay. The gameplay and the characters are marred so perfectly together in this game. I absolutely love what's happening with some of the characters. I do not want to have any type of spoilers for those who haven't played it yet, but it's one of those games to where you're going to be feeling certain type of ways. There are going to be emotions as I put way more hours into this game and continue to put more hours as I play Portable. There are certain emotions and things that happen that are just like, goodness gracious, I wonder where this is going to go. And when it happens, you're like, wow, I really want to do this. And the gameplay gives you all the outlets to get certain things done. There's multiple different endings. There's different characters that you can use, multiple characters that you can use, a lot of different strategies that you can employ, so many different abilities, techniques, special moves, all sorts of stuff. Great map layout, great music. Man, Unicorn Overlord is the full package, and that's why it makes the number 3 on my list. Next up at number 2 is Triangle Strategy, another HD 2D game, but to me, my favorite HD 2D game so far on the platform. And Triangle Strategy is a great game for a number of reasons. I think that it takes some of the intimidation out from strategy RPGs, especially the slower paced turn-based strategy RPGs. It makes it far more inviting, but I think it also makes it fun as well with what they do with the combat system. The kudos system is so good. The encampment system is the best. It is the best quality of life thing that I've seen, to where you can access your characters that you want to do right before a mission at any time. You can level up, you can practice your strategies, you can get different equipment, weapons, whatever you need to do right there in the encampment on the map when you're looking to do what the next story point is. Whether you're already in the main battle, you can access it. And the combat, the characters, the story, the options, all of that is very well done. I personally love the Triangle Strategy, how you get like that time in between to really investigate. When you have like the scales of conviction where you have to try to convince people to go a certain path, a democratic type of system, the fact that you can go get evidence, go look and try to influence how a certain party member votes is a really fun mechanic, and something that I'm pretty sure other games have done, but I haven't seen it done to this type of degree with this story, how they were able to get it done. It felt really unique. And a sea of games that try to do the same thing, Triangle Strategy stood out to me so much with that, and it was just a great strategy RPG as well, with very fun mechanics, great graphics, of course, great music, so many cool things that you would expect from Square Enix Team Asano type of game. So Triangle Strategy absolutely deserves its number 2 spot on my list. And coming in at number 1 is Astral Chain. Another game that I can talk about for like probably 30-40 minutes by itself. Maybe you guys will get a video on that. But Astral Chain is absolutely the epitome of everything that I love about developers trying something new, but then when you have a dev that's given the ability, the vision to get something done between Nintendo and Platinum Games to create this type of IP, the world, the setting, the gameplay, all of that is done so well. Now, the story isn't the greatest in the world, but I enjoyed it. Little popcorn flick type of intrigue and story and political jockeying back and forth with what's happening there. World powers, secret world powers, a lot of money being funneled in, secret tests going on, enhancement to soldiers. There's so many different things in this game, and it's a complete package when it comes to the gameplay, the music, and everything. You're going to be enthralled with how the combat works in this game, the different legions, the upgrading, and the gameplay contents. Everything is there. There's not any type of DLC or season pass or anything, and that's one of the running things with everything on my list here. Everything is kind of right in there. You get everything from the go, and there's so much content in the game. After you even beat it, there's more. It has DLC into the cartridge without any other things to download or anything like that. So that's what I love about Astral Chain. Just great characters, great gameplay, great abilities, great level design, great music, so many cool things about this game. And Platinum really did a number on the innovation with the game, because the different legions and how you fight with them, it's a little bit awkward at first trying to fight with the legions, but then also having your own player character that can fight wrapping up people and doing different type of combos, unchaining your legions, busting out another one, having 3 on screen at the time. There's so many cool things, but when you get the hang of the combat system and when it clicks, it just feels like absolute bliss overall. Astral Chain to me is the best new IP that I've played in a very long time, and I feel that it absolutely deserves the #1 spot on my list of best Nintendo Switch new IPs. So what are your favorite Nintendo Switch new IPs? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.